What is up, guys? Today is February 6th, I think, 2019, and I'm making this video about what I've been doing during this crypto bear market. And I want to start off by saying that this has been the first bear market that I've had to really endure, and it's been my first foray really into experiencing a bear market in any asset class. And I don't think that particularly there's anything unique about a crypto bear market or a real estate bear market or an equities bear market. I think that all of these asset classes have psychological similarities as it relates to bull runs and bear runs. And so things that I've been doing, and I'm going to just kind of talk about them generally speaking and probably link to some good resources, because the number one thing that I've been doing is learning. And I know that you've probably heard this, and I don't know at what point someone might be watching this, but the truth is that this is the number one thing you can do in order to get disproportionate returns during the next bull run, right? Because by researching and learning and educating yourself, you're going to be able to, one, find the best projects, the best investments, and two, you're going to be able to strengthen your conviction. And strengthening your conviction allows you to not get short squeezed or not get, run out of your position or really get scared. It allows you to double down whenever things get bad, whenever there's those 50% drops, as we saw from the 6,000 to 3,000 drop. And my guess is that we've been hovering around 3,000 for the last month or so. I get this feeling there's going to be another 30 to 50% drop before the end of 2019. And so learning. So what have I been doing? I've been reading a lot about Austrian economics. I've been reading about the history of Bitcoin, starting at Nakamoto Institute. Thank you, Pierre Richard and Bitstein. I'll have that linked. It's a great place to go through some of the old writings of Satoshi Nakamoto. Jameson Lopp, a very renowned cypherpunk and developer in the space, has an entire resource list available at his website, lopp.net, and I'll have that linked as well. And no matter how you want to learn, if you want to watch things on YouTube, if you want to listen to podcasts, if you want to read books, I've been doing all of these, really immersing myself in trying to find the signal in the noise, right? This space is very crowded. There's a lot of shilling, a lot of hype, a lot of people trying to get their name out there, get their projects out there. And so really being able to find people who are putting out high quality. And what's very interesting about the crypto market is that just because someone starts putting out high quality stuff or is putting out high quality stuff at one point in time does not mean that they will continue to do so. And personally, I think a great example of this for many people in the crypto space will be someone like Roger Ver or someone like Kevin Pham, who recently started, he went from being a pretty big Bitcoiner to Bitcoin Store of Value SV, some altcoin that just not really worth looking into at this point. So yes, some top quality books that I would recommend are The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Amos, Nathaniel Popper's Digital Gold. I like Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. There's a new book coming out called Inventing Bitcoin that has very high recommendations amongst some people who've already gotten the book. I'm looking forward to reading that one. And what else? I would also take time to invest in understanding of Austrian economics. I think understanding Austrian economics is a central tenet of really getting to understand Bitcoin and understanding sound money. So I would look into Monty Rothbard's Man, Economy, and State. And that's kind of very detailed, but if you're looking for something a little bit simpler, Economics in One Lesson by Holzman, I think. I actually can't think of who the author is at this time. But some good podcast recommendations. You can't go wrong with the Noted podcast. Shout out Pierre Richard and Bitstein. Stefan Livera has a very high quality podcast. Tales from the Crypt another Marty Bent and Matt O'Dale. They have a very high quality podcast. In terms of newsletters, I like to look at Bitcoin OPSEC. It's the newsletter that comes out from the Bitcoin development team directly. I don't really do a lot of newsletters. I do look at a lot of individuals who I think are putting out high quality posts on Medium. A couple of journalists as well, like this guy named, I can't think of his name actually, so Van Austin. Whatever, I ignore that. But the point is that there are a lot of resources out there, and not just learning about crypto, but educating yourself in other asset classes, because what's important to understand is that there are a lot of principles from value investing, from the Charlie Mungers and Warren Buffetts and the Benjamin Grahams. There are a lot of things to be learned and ascertained that can transfer over to this new asset class. Another good starting point for really newbies, I would say, is Chris Berninsky. I think I'm saying his name right. Crypto Asset. That book gives a pretty general overview of a lot of the different thinking in the space. I don't agree with everything in that book, but it is very detailed in terms of general overview. And yeah, also like learning to read code. I'm not saying everyone has to be a coder, right? Like being a coder, it takes a very particular mindset and a very unique skill set and a certain kind of thinking that I don't think necessarily everyone will have or can have at that high of a level, right? I think at a low level, like everyone should be able to write some JavaScript and maybe do some HTML or whatever it is. But I think that learning how programs work, right? How algorithms work, and being able to read through source code, and a lot of these source codes have comments on it, right? So like you can see sort of, okay, this is what this section of the code is meant to do, and being able to kind of follow along and get the general gist. If you know like one language, or you have an understanding of how object-oriented programming works, or if I don't really understand C, which is what Bitcoin Core is written in, but you can still look at source code and get a general understanding of how things are working and piecemeal it together. And so I think that's also a very valuable skill set. I think you could learn a lot of this as it relates to Bitcoin by reading Andreas Antonopoulos' Mastering Bitcoin. And so this video is just kind of being made for prosperity's sake. It's a recommendation that I want to give to anyone in the future. It's a recommendation I'd give to anyone now. Educating yourself, and like educating yourself in real estate, right? Like to think that any of these asset classes are not linked with one another, and that human behavior isn't like, I guess, how do I say, that people's behavior isn't really just linked on all these asset classes is a silly notion. So you have to be able to have mastery of, or not mastery, but just knowledge of how the economic machine works, which is why, again, I say reading a lot of economics is a great way to get an understanding of how things are operating, right? So Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics, that's a pretty big one, but it gives you, in my opinion, a really great general overview of economics. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was enlightening, and it would be the recommendation that I give to anyone today and in future bear markets, no matter the asset class. Thank you guys, and see you in the next video. Peace.
Law.